Joining us now, candidate Republican for Attorney General John Adams. He is on the statewide Republican ticket, which is Ed Gillespie for governor, Jill Vogel for lieutenant governor, and John Adams for Attorney General. John Adams will be squaring off with incumbent Democratic Attorney General Mark Herring on November. John, good to have you with us, man.
It's great to be back with you, John. How you been?
Never better. Now, John, you got a free ride. You had no primary opposition, so you're the nominee, but now the work starts. We understand you had a debate on Saturday against Mark Herring in Virginia Beach. Can you share with our audience, John, the highlights of that?
Yeah, sure. No surprises, John. Mark Herring doubled down on his pledge to continue to use the office as his political weapon. The night before the debate, John, he said that he was going to be the voice of the resistance as Attorney General. And so, as someone who's a lawyer and loves the rule of law, the idea that our Attorney General would say he's going to be the voice of the resistance is really troubling. His job is to be our lawyer, the lawyer for the Commonwealth of Virginia, to defend the laws we pass. And at the debate, it became very clear and very stark that that's not what he's going to do, that he's going to continue down this extreme politicization of the office, that I, on the other hand, understand what it means to be the Attorney General of Virginia, and that when you stop worrying so much about politics, you can concentrate on the things that matter, like skyrocketing death rates in the heroin opioid crisis, increasing violent crime in our urban areas, and, of course, defending the laws that the citizens of Virginia pass. So we thought it was a great debate and really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping, and I said this in my closing remarks at the debate, I hope we have a lot more of them. I hope he accepts more debates, because every time we're together and we draw that contrast, it's good for Team Adams.
When he says he's going to be the voice of the resistance, what exactly does that have to do with being Attorney General of Virginia?
Nothing. In fact, if it goes against the concept of the loyalty a lawyer owes to his client to say, I'm going to, in my role, I'm going to take up another cause, right? That's not who he's retained to represent. His job is to represent the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it's very clear that he's not going to do that.
How do you connect, John, with Trump voters in November?
I think I've already connected with a lot of Trump voters. I mean, if you think about it this way, John, here I am. I am a guy who has never run for political office. I'm a guy who's been a lawyer, and I think I've done a fine job being a lawyer throughout my life. And when you think about somebody who wants an elected official who's going to do what they said they're going to do, that's what this is about. Who's going to do what they say they're going to do? And you look at my record as a lawyer, there is no doubt that I'm that kind of candidate. And I'll say what I believe is right. We got a question about Trump's executive order in the debate. The topic came up, and I explained very clearly, I am a lawyer. My job is to defend the Constitution. And the order on immigration, whether you like it or not as a policy matter, falls within the president's executive authority. Right? So what I think Trump voters, or anybody who cares about politicians who are honest, elected officials who are honest and are going to do what they're supposed to do, I'm going to get those voters, because they can look at the pattern of my life, and they can meet me, and they can look me in the eye, and they're going to know I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
John Adams, give me a couple of the main points of difference between yourself and Mark Herring on defending the Constitution and actually implementing that. Give me some specifics.
Sure. He refused to defend the voter ID law in Virginia, requiring the Commonwealth of Virginia to go out and hire an expensive law firm to do his job for him. That voter ID law was ultimately upheld. He attacked, again, and John, we talked about this before, it doesn't matter what you think about gay marriage. It doesn't matter. We had a constitutional amendment that defined it, that Mark Herring voted for, by the way. He voted for. When he was Attorney General, he not only refused to defend it, he went out and attacked his client's constitution. These are the kind of actions, right-to-work law. He files briefs in the U.S. Supreme Court attacking right-to-work laws when we are a right-to-work state. There's no similarity between me and Mark Herring when it comes to understanding the Constitution and the role of an attorney. He decides whether or not he likes a law the citizens have passed. If he doesn't like it, he says for some reason it's not constitutional. He can come up with an argument why it's not, and then he refuses to defend it. That is not his role as the Attorney General. It's just not. My job as the Attorney General is going to be to advise the General Assembly when they are passing laws so that we get laws that are as defensible as possible. And then my job is to defend the will of the people because I am their lawyer. And so it's hard to even think of a comparison between me and Mark and our understanding of the Constitution because he is so political that it's hard to even describe what his view of the Constitution is.
All right, so let's get to a specific issue that was on a lot of people's minds in Virginia, John Adams, and that is sanctuary cities. As Attorney General, do you have any role to play here?
Well, of course, yes. I mean, sanctuary cities are an incredibly dangerous thing because what they demonstrate is the complete erosion of the rule of law, right? The rule of law is what separates us from absolute chaos. When any locality takes an official action to direct its law enforcement officers to refuse to comply with federal law, or even worse, to harbor folks who are violating law, it doesn't matter what the law is. It is a breakdown in the order of society. So what I would do as Attorney General, most likely in a situation like that, is issue a legal opinion that explains that in Virginia the localities are not authorized to do that and be a part of the process to restrict localities from engaging in that kind of behavior. Some of it would clearly come down to financial penalties. That would, of course, come from the General Assembly.
We're with John Adams, Republican candidate for Attorney General, running against Mark Herring. He's part of the new Republican ticket, elected in the primaries on Tuesday. Ed Gillespie for governor, Jill Vogel for lieutenant governor, and John Adams for Attorney General. Just so everybody knows, you don't vote for a slate. You have to vote for each individual candidate. This will be decided on Tuesday, November 7th. John, bear with me a second. This just in. A Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Theresa May, calling the attack on the mosque in North London a terrorist attack. May says this was an attack on Muslims near their place of worship, and like all terrorism, in whatever form, it shares the same fundamental goal. Prime Minister May said, it seeks to drive us apart and to break the precious bonds of solidarity and citizenship which we share in this country. May went on to say, we will not let this happening. And she concludes by saying, this morning we have seen a sickening attempt to destroy those freedoms and break those bonds of citizenship that define the United Kingdom. This statement just out over the wire by Theresa May, the British police now calling this a terrorist attack on a mosque and on Muslims in North London. John, let's get to how you win this race. The Democrats are going to go in with an institutional advantage. No question about it. They've won 8 consecutive statewide races. They continue to get massive votes in Northern Virginia. They're also trying to stoke their base, so they've all moved way left, including their gubernatorial candidate, Lieutenant Governor Ralph Northam, in order for him to win the primary against Perriello. He's gone crazy left on a lot of issues that don't really share his history. How do you win this race, John?
Well, I mean, you're 100% right on this. They have gone to a fairly extreme position. I mean, again, I think about how incredible this is. The night before our debate, my opponent said he wants to be the voice of the resistance in Virginia. this is the Commonwealth of Virginia. Our Attorney General is not the voice of the resistance. And with that far of an extreme left position, I will tell you, John, I am going to get support from a lot of folks who are, quote unquote, in the middle because they understand the importance of the rule of law. They see everyone sees how politicized Mark Herring is. And meanwhile, we've got 66% increase in the people who are dying from heroin and opioid addiction on his watch. We have unbelievable increases in criminal activity in Virginia in just the last few years. There's real work to be done to keep our citizens safe in Virginia. There's real work and leadership that's needed in that office, and people from across the political spectrum will realize that. One of the most interesting things that happened in the debate, I thought, was the debate was held in Virginia Beach, John, hosted by the Virginia State Bar. The Attorney General came into that room and started the debate by attacking me for representing certain clients who've been investigated for criminal activity. I had people coming up to me after the debate saying thank you for standing up for lawyers. I had people coming up who I know are liberal Democrats. I know them. They're liberal Democrats saying thank you for standing up for lawyers and what we do. Thank you for standing up for the rule of law. The way I'm going to win is by running a principled campaign based on the Constitution and keeping our citizens safe. And he's going to run saying he's the voice of the resistance. I do not believe that's where Virginia is, John. You study this stuff hard, and I think, we've talked about this. Virginia, overall, you have to think we're a little bit, we're at least purple, right? And in Northern Virginia, we're blue. But we're not the voice of the resistance from our lawyer. That's
crazy.
That's crazy, John.
Well,
that's crazy.
They're going to go back to the Howell and Henry Howell days, which was one of the most liberal left-wing candidates for governor they've had. If you look at the history of Virginia, John Adams, extremists are not elected either way. Henry Howell didn't do very well. He ran 2 times. Ken Cuccinelli ran for governor. He didn't fare very well. By the way, a lot of what you said is saying you're going to execute the job of Attorney General and not politicize the office, right?
That's it.
Now, Mark Herring's predecessor, Ken Cuccinelli, when he was Attorney General, the Democrats were saying the same thing about him. They were saying that he was politicizing the office. So you got 2 extremes now, both sides, both have been critical. So what assurance are you going to give us that you're not going to fall into either category?
Well, first of all, you don't look at, people don't have to trust what I say. They can look at my record. Mark Herring is a career politician. He's building a career. He started as the town lawyer up in Loudoun. He went on to the Board of Supervisors. He went into the General Assembly. He ran for statewide office. He clearly wanted to run for governor. There was clearly a backroom deal, and the nod was given to Ralph, and so he's running for re-election now. But this is a man who is building a political career. When you have someone in office like that, they are going to politicize the office, period. I am 43 years old. I've never run for anything in my life. I stepped up because of the way he's handled his office. I'm the only reason I'm in this race, John, is because of Mark Herring and the way he's run his office. I'm coming in to fix it. That's why I'm here. And you can look at my career and it all makes sense. Very different person running for Attorney General this time than I think we've ever had, to be honest.
Well, John, you're on a roll. I'd say that, when you got in this race, I didn't think you could beat Rob Bell. And then I didn't think you could win a convention. And then Rob Bell dropped out. And then the convention was overturned for a primary. And then you had one primary opponent. He couldn't get on the ballot. So you didn't have to deal with that. So now you're a nominee. And then the Republican attorney, just so all my audience knows this, the National Organization for Republican Attorney Generals never, ever gives money to a challenger against a Democratic AG incumbent ever. They broke that, and they're going to help with financing the John Adams campaign. So, John, you're on a roll. A lot of work to do, Mark.
You're on a
roll, man.
A lot of work to do, John, but we're going to do it. And I got to tell you, we feel an incredible amount of energy behind the campaign. People from all political spectrums want some sanity returned to government. They want sanity returned to the Attorney General's office, and people are excited about it. And we are on a roll, John. You're right, we are. We absolutely are.
I need your
listeners to get online, sign up with us, put a yard sign in your yard.
Where do they go?
It's time for all of us to come together and take back our Attorney General's office.
Where do they go? What's your website?
JohnAdams4VA.com. That's FORVA, JohnAdams4VA.com.